What is the best way you've seen a guy hit on a girl? Or vice versa. I was at a party. Everyone has been enjoying adult beverages very responsibly. This girl starts spouting off loudly. Why is sex over when the guy gets off? Sex should be over when the girl gets off. And the smooth older guy goes, see, that wouldn't work for me. Why not? Because then sex would be over way too quickly. She gets this big banana grin, and then he proceeds to drink his beer like he didn't know it was a joke. When I left the party, they were still talking. Yeah, that's probably one of the best tactics, is self-deprecation. Being legitimate though, the reason why self-deprecation's a pretty good tactic, not like you should be looking at this in like a tactical way, but it's because a lot of guys tend to just take themselves way too serious. So when a girl kind of sees a guy who's a little loose and is not afraid to take a own jab at himself, it's a pretty attractive trait. Story 2. This one doesn't result in marriage or anything, but in terms of hitting on a girl, it's so ballsy, I love it. A buddy of mine used to go up to a girl at the bar, take her drink, slug it down in one go, then sit down and smile, saying, hey, you look like you need a drink. Unbelievably, it works sometimes. Story 3. Watch a guy fall down skiing on the steepest part of a run, and he could not stop. Skis, poles, hat, and gloves go flying. As he is rolling and sliding, I notice he's about to do a bowling ball slam into a girl standing at the bottom. He spreads out his arms and legs and manages to stop, but lying face up, feet uphill, and she is just looking down at him like WTF. He says, I've been trying to meet you all day. Yeah, this is just 10 out of 10 Riz right here. See, people like this honestly just deserve the world. If you can come out of an embarrassing situation and make the punchline kind of you, make yourself the butt of a joke, I'm telling you, people appreciate that a lot more than you just making fun of another individual. Story 4. Got a buddy real drunk and told him to hit on a girl. When he blows it, we swoop in and apologize for our drunk friend, buy him a drink if required to, and boom. And they're like swimwear, works 90% of the time, all the time. That's pretty evil. That is smart. That sucks though, it's like you're fishing and your friend is literally the lure. Like you're literally using your friend for Riz. Honestly, I'm gonna have to take some points off the Rizometer for that. Story 5. I was on spring break with a big group of guys. I had a girlfriend, now my wife, but most of the guys were single and looking to mingle. So the first time, we were at the beachside bar, and my friends who typically have pretty good game are getting shot down left and right. They start getting real frustrated. So they just start treating women like complete crap, but having fun with it. Then as soon as she started to say something, he would just turn and walk away. Things like that. And at this point, they're approaching the hottest girls available. We were just laughing about it and kind of having a good time. But I was also kind of keeping an eye on these girls. You could see their body language change. You could see their expressions wilt and their self-confidence evaporate. Being a softie, I started to feel really bad. So I approached one of the girls that was looking like someone just kicked her dog and honestly just explained the situation to her. I'm sorry about that. He's not a bad guy, it's just that my friends were hoping to talk to some girls and they are getting shut down and are frustrated. So they started to deal it back out as like some kind of joke. It was nothing against you personally. I told her that I had a girlfriend and was just kind of there to observe and said, let me buy you a drink. So I buy her a drink, pat her on the back and say, have fun tonight. And again, I'm sorry. I start to walk away and she grabs my arm and kind of pulls me back. She turns her whole body towards me and stares at me with the F me eyes. She says, I can see why you have a girlfriend while your friends are striking out. Why don't you hang out here with me while your friends try to pick up girls? I was dumbfounded and kind of at a loss for words. I said thanks, but I should probably get back. I probably have a lot more apologies to make by now. So I walked away, heart racing like I was about to get in real trouble with my girlfriend. This girl was putting on a serious vibe. I went and apologized to another girl and had similar results. What the F is happening? I gave up apologizing after that time. But about 2 hours later, I am pretty tipsy and walking to the restroom and someone grabs me and pulls me to the side. It is girl number 1. And she has her arm wrapped around mine. Kinda like when a girlfriend's introducing her new boyfriend to her parents. She is with her group of friends and she says, this is the guy I was telling you about. And they all say, "Aww." They pulled me to the bar with them and I bought a couple of rounds of shots. I thanked them, then excused myself to the bathroom because I still had to pee. But I ended up vomiting then peeing. But that's not really relevant to the story. Yeah, in this situation, it's just a classic case of your friends looking like degenerates. So anything you've done would just make you look infinitely better than the surrounding environment. If you think about it, it's kind of funny because I don't want to say this guy's doing the bare minimum, but I do kind of want to say he's doing the bare minimum. He's just being a nice individual, while the other guys are being spiteful. But because he was just being a normal, honest, nice human being, he ended up getting the Riz of the night, while his friends were just going nowhere. But then again, if his friends were never being spiteful, he probably wouldn't have such a high success rate. And I hate saying that because it makes me sound like some kind of relationship guru. Yeah, if you do X, Y, and Z, you'll have a 90% chance at pulling women. By the way, if you ever see those kind of courses, just run away. Just shut your laptop down. If you ever start to consider it, shut your laptop down. Walk away, get some fresh air, hit the gym. Story 6. I met a gorgeous girl early at the beginning of a New Year's Eve party. A few minutes before midnight, I saw her again, and she gave me a frustrated frown. Is something wrong? I asked. Last New Year's, I didn't have anyone to kiss at midnight, and I was really hoping this year would be different. Guess not. I had been drinking, but not so much as to miss an opening like that. Took her in my arms and kissed her up to and through the countdown. At the time, it all seemed very spontaneous. But later I learned she had been practicing that line for over an hour. Anyway, this August will be our 20th anniversary. Can we get 2 claps for this couple? Honestly, that is such an endearing story. I love hearing stories like this. Story 7. The best/worst way I've ever been hit on. I was walking in the city. A very old man sitting on a bench says, honey, I gotta tell you, you are an angel from heaven above. Beautiful. I blushed and said thank you and kept walking, feeling awesome. As I was waiting at the intersection, less than 20 seconds later, a guy on a bike rides by and yells, damn, let me see that pussy. She literally just got the yin and the yang in the span of a minute. By the way, I always wonder, because having a girlfriend myself, there's always like a new gentleman that comes out of nowhere and they're like, oh, come over, I'm gonna do this, and this. Does it actually work? I feel like if it's unprovoked, never gonna work. Like if you just come out of the woodworks and you're just like, I'm gonna do this to you, you just seem like a freak. You seem like a creep and a freak. But the thing I have to ask is if they're doing it in the first place, then usually people redo things. Basically what I'm trying to say is you're gonna repeat something that works. And if they're doing this, they're most likely doing it with other women. And if that's the case, does that mean it does work? I have no idea. I really like the answers to this. Story 8. At a fancy party, I was in heels and a little drunk. Stumbled down the last few stairs on the staircase. Nothing serious. A smartly dressed guy rushed over, helps me to my feet. Once I'm back to my vertical self, he takes my hand, looks me dead in the eye and says, I'm sorry. I should have been there to catch you. Bandage dropped all the way to China, I swear. Yeah. So based on all the stories I've read so far, this guy's probably, I would rate him as God. Story 9. I've seen a lot of one-liners fall in the past, but just a week ago, I saw a 13-year-old boy pull one off flawlessly. There happened to be 2 sets of kids where I work, all about the same age, 11 to 13 years old. The girls had walked past where the boys were sitting to go to the restroom. Obviously, the girls going all together. On the way back, a brave boy asked one of the girls to help him. Curious, she asked how. He asked her what type of phone she had because his was broken. So she went over and was looking at it. After not finding anything, she asked what was wrong with it. He said, it's broken because it doesn't have your number in it. The girl's dad happened to be passing by at the time, and he was laughing so hard, I thought he was going to put his daughter's number in the kid's phone for her. Oh, that's awful. That's literally so awful. The daughter's father was there. Could you imagine if that was his first time ever approaching a girl? Like, that's your first time ever, and the father just so happened to be there. Story 10. One of my close friends and I were playing pool in our dorm commons when this knockout brunette sat down with a few of her friends. Me and my friend both noticed she was glancing at him, but we continued to play pool. A half hour or so goes by and I asked him what he was doing the following day at 6. When I finished class, he turns and smiles at her before telling me whatever she is doing at 6. Her jaw dropped and started giggling. They did for nearly a half year after that. It was the smoothest thing I've ever seen. Alright, I'm gonna make an argument though. I guarantee if this guy was not a knockout brunette, in quotes, that this would have ended up on some Ask Reddit creepiest people that have hit on girls. What's your story? I guarantee it just kind of made it seem super smooth because this guy was attractive. Story 11. I had a friend back in university who was socially behind the curve. He would come off as creepy or just too abnormal, I guess. It made girls uneasy, but he was a decent, fun guy. Anyhow, he had a huge crush on this girl I was lab partners with, and I know she's single, etc., so I'm just coaching the guy to approach it halfway normal. I say next time he's with me and she's around, I'll just bring her into the conversation and just sort of flesh him out, pick him up a little. And in an hour, when it's a little more comfortable, I'll excuse myself for a minute and he can casually see if she wants to go out sometime. Later that day, I'm at her house, finishing a report, and she gets a Facebook IM on her laptop. It's him, and without prior conversation, almost ever, the IM says, your boobs are great. It didn't work this time. I do admire his misguided courage, though. That's just so sad. Also, it's kind of funny. I was just talking about, like, sometimes it comes off as creepy, and we get the story about a guy coming off as creepy. But yeah, that's probably based on the Rizzometer, I like to call it. This guy has 0 Riz. This was just horrible, especially with the great. Like, the way it was spelled, it wasn't even like great. It was like GR8 for great. That's horrible. Your boobs are great with a smiley face. Dude sounds like he's 11. Story 12. A very good looking friend of mine walked up to a girl, bought her a drink, asked her name, and said, Can I F you? Unbelievably, she said yes, and they disappeared for 2 hours. I just stood there, stunned. They returned looking sweaty and disheveled, and spent the rest of the night chatting and flirting. They had been dating for 2 years. Alright, I got my answers. I don't know if you guys remember, but I was asking the question, do these kind of like vulgar statements like, oh, I'm gonna F you so good and all that, do they actually work? It worked. I mean, it wasn't so direct. I mean, it was, but it was more can I? It wasn't like I'm going to. So would that make a difference? Probably not. But yeah, I guess it does work in some situations. I'm glad I was able to find the answers so quickly. Story 13. Best one I've seen. I was sitting at the bar with a buddy of mine and there was an attractive woman on the other side of him. He says, watch this, and proceeds to turn to face her and introduce himself. They shake hands, and when their hands touch, he grabs her hand and says, hey, you have such small hands. My D is going to look huge. I had to put my head down on the bar because I was almost crying laughing and fully expecting him to get a good old slap for that one. Nope, she laughed, and then they proceeded to flirt it up. Still amazed that worked. Oh my god! I literally manifested these stories. This crap does actually work. I'm like so mind blown. I'm telling you though, for anyone thinking this will work in your situation, I promise you there's probably a 90% chance you could get slapped in the face, so I would not try this. Story 14. I was in high school, and there was a substitute teacher that was downright gorgeous. Everything a teenage boy could dream for. Like straight out of one of those P's you watch. So she's subbing my class one day, and she says, I think I lost my phone. I can't find it. So quickly I go, what's your number? I'll call it. 943-555-73. Oh, you think you're slick or something. I was so close. Needless to say, I never had a chance, phone number or not. That guy got shut down so bad. She could have just laughed and be like, ha ha. But instead, she started saying the number and then just stopped. Alright, low key though, if that was the actual phone number and she stopped on the last 2 numbers, you could go a little weirdo mode on that and start trying to call every number and just change the last 2 numbers and keep calling until you get one. But hey, at that point, probably deserve prison time. Story 15. I was walking to class a couple months ago when I saw a guy and girl nearly bump into each other going through a tight doorway. They looked at one another and gave their respective awkward smiles, but then both tried to walk the same way around. Twice. They looked at each other when the guy put his hands on the girl's waist, picks her up, and slowly places her on the opposite side of himself. I had to walk past them at this point, but when I looked up, she was staring at him and blushing, and I saw them talking outside after class, and seemed to be hitting it off. Story 16. Buddy saw a girl standing alone at the bar and happened to notice she was wearing a Star of David necklace. He walks up to her and says, hi, are you here with someone, or are you just waiting for a messiah? She threw a drink in his face. Alright, of all the things I've heard, why does he get a drink thrown in his face? You're telling me the guy who said, ooh, my D will look good in your hand or something like that? That guy scored, but this guy gets a drink thrown in his face? Oh man. Story 17. I don't know if this is the best, per se, but I definitely had something random and very cool happen to me at the bar. Simply put, I was standing next to this really cute girl. I don't know if he saw her checking me out or something, but this guy comes to us, makes eye contact with her, points at me and goes, man, that's a really cool blazer, don't you think? She gives me a once over and agrees. He gets his drink from the bar and leaves without saying another word. Instant attraction, dancing, and hooking up happens. Thank you, random Austin wingman, wherever you are. I never got the chance to say that. Alright, based on my Riz scoring on the Rizzometer, this guy, this random stranger, or angel you could argue, this guy is on the top of the Rizzometer. I don't think anyone's gonna beat this guy, I'm gonna be honest. When you have so much Riz, do you wanna know how you know you have too much Riz? It's when you're able to not only help yourself, but you're able to supply Riz to Rizless individuals. Not saying this man is Rizless, but this man is now doing charity work, and there's just no beating that. Story 18. My buddy, Will, is the master of hitting on girls. This is a story from his college days. He's an eccentric person and always made paper flowers out of his napkins in our university cafeteria. For over a year, he hid these flowers around our residency, and the notorious Rose Kid was born. People talked about the roses around the school, and he always hid them in the weirdest places. The cafeteria women would wear them in their hair, and they adorned the front desk. I crap you not, multiple girls began collecting entire bouquets for them. Come the next year, my buddy has a lot more confidence, and he starts initiating a lot of the conversations with potential lady friends. Frequently, you'd go up to a random girl and hand them a flower to initiate a conversation. One time, we were on the city bus doing the crossword, and he saw a cute girl in front of him. She had a bag of groceries and was looking the other way. He tossed the flower into her groceries, and she didn't notice. Minutes later, he dropped his paper onto her bag, and she looked over and up at him. He apologizes, leans over to grab it, and says, where'd you get that flower? He talked to her for the rest of the 20-minute bus ride as I sat there on my phone. Alright, what I've learned from this is we just all need to go to the flower shop and grab as many flowers as possible. If anyone's desperate to find someone, I think the best thing you can do, buy 100 flowers, go to your nearest college campus, and just start bringing them out. Just start giving flowers left and right. Story 19. Back in my senior year, my buddy got really drunk at a club. Being the good friends that we are, we naturally convinced him that hitting on the two beautiful girls at the other side of the club would be the greatest idea ever. He agreed, and we told him that he should totally use this line. Have you ever ridden the Oriental Express? You like to? We're both Asian. The drunk mother effer, with a crap-eating grin, strolls up to the poor girls, grabbed both their hands, and whispered into their ears. Both of them looked at each other in shock, then smiled and started talking to him. As the girl is whispering into his ear, my buddy put a finger to her lips, turns around, and walks back. Our jaws were on the floor. What happened? We said. He just goes, I got hungry. Let's get some Mickey D's. The entire night we were like, what? Alright, why did that work though? Like in this situation, this man should have been slapped. I think should have been. I'm not really sure. But I just know of all the stories. I forgot which story it was, but in the previous one, that man should have not been slapped for what he said, in my opinion. Oh yeah, it was about the Messiah. Story 20. There was this girl I liked at a house party. I show up, she asks. In quotations, the dude goes to. Will you go grab mix? So I head to the store, and as I'm paying for pop, I see a single roses. I buy them. Head back to the party, put the pop on the table, and hand the girl the rose. She says, what's this for? And I reply, I just want to show this rose how beautiful you are. Making out happen, got called slick by the bros. Alright, so what we've learned is flowers is the key to Riz. Story 21. Best cut down while being hit upon. My best bud was heavily flirting with this girl in a bar who completely wasn't interested in him. After putting up with him for far too long, she suddenly spins around, looks him dead in the eyes, and asks quite loudly, do you remember your first BJ? Being completely surprised with the question and having a dozen set of eyes on him in the bar, he timidly replies yes. She loudly asks, did you spit or swallow? Tail between his legs, he quietly got up from the bar stool, admitted defeat, and crawled away in the shame. God, that is awful. No, here's an assignment for people watching this. Give me a comeback to the did you spit or swallow comeback, and if someone can figure out how to come back from that situation and to hit her with a quick 1-2, please comment below. I will literally shout you out in a video. Story 22. He went up to her and asked if she had dropped some random item he had in his hand, then proceeded to tell her a funny story. And that was it. Done. I think he showed most guys in the club that you don't need to instantly comment on a woman's physical appearance.